Yo, what's cracking everyone? Ericship 111 here, and today I'm going to be talking about The Crew 2. Now, before I begin, I just want to remind you guys that these are just my opinions, and should you disagree with any of my points, feel free to write them down in the comment section below. I do read them, and let's have a discussion on how we could potentially improve on this game. Now, I'm going to start by briefly explaining what The Crew 2 did right. First off, the release date. I mean, for many like myself who love open world races, we didn't have any other games that we could really enjoy. I mean, at this point, Forza Horizon 3 was almost 2 years old, and Need for Speed Payback, well, let's just say it wasn't their best title in their series. So we're pretty much in desperation for a high budget racer before the highly anticipated Forza Horizon 4. So I believe with their timing of the release has also helped The Crew 2 become a lot more successful. Next is the map. It's gigantic. There's not much else to really say. There are plenty of real life landmarks to discover, a handful of revised big cities that actually exist in the United States, fictional racing circuits, and even though I've never been to America, not one person has told me that The Crew 2's representation of the country was inaccurate. If you are new to the series, there is plenty to explore and it will take up a lot of your game time. Then we have the vehicle diversity. Definitely the first of its kind, incorporating land, water, and air vehicles. This certainly gives us a much wider dynamic in racing, but later I will also explain why this is the game's biggest weakness. And lastly, the vehicle upgrading system. This was very easy to follow. Commonly, two ways to improve the car's performance. One is to win a race, or you could explore around the map and find hidden loot. The loot ranges from green, blue, and purple. Green parts have no special abilities, blue has one, and purple parts have two. Of course, the green is a lot easier to get, then the blue becomes harder, and purple is of course the hardest. Really quite simple to follow, requires some time to max out your vehicles, but it will also add a lot of playability if you guys are into fully upgrading your vehicle. Now, those points I just mentioned were the main points I believe The Crew 2 did well. Many other positives I did omit, as now I want to explain why to me the game has sort of become, well, stale. First off, as I mentioned earlier, the diversity in vehicles. I think this was one of their biggest missed opportunities in the game, because you see, most of us who play The Crew 2 were pretty much for the cars, and also the car list just completely dominates the rest of the vehicles. And while the campaign does force us to experience the racing in boats and planes, once they are finished or once they have been completed, they kind of get pushed away. So it almost becomes just another open world racer. Now, within the campaign, they did have events where you switch from vehicle to vehicle, mixing and matching different disciplines, but they only had a handful of those events. I would have loved to have seen a lot more of those. I mean, many of the other events that are scattered across the map, they're just singular, typical street races that they seem quite basic. The live extreme events was certainly a step in the right direction, so I say why not build upon what makes your game unique? Having such as cross-discipline events similar to the challenges that I somewhat do, but instead of just letting us do that in a free roam, give us a structure, some rules, and also a finish line to compete in, even against AI, because if you guys have events in the game that are well thought out, just one single event could be done multiple times depending on how many disciplines you put in, and this to me would add another layer to the game that could quite seemingly feel unmatched compared to anything else. Of course, there are many logistics to take in. It's not as simple as saying we're going to start here and then this is our finish line. There is a ton to think about, but I think spending that time thinking about these unique events is what is going to make The Crew unique, particularly with the planes, the boats, and the cars. So I guess this is just something that Ivory Towers could potentially think about, maybe in The Crew 3, or possibly an update in the upcoming year. Next is the exclusive racing that we have, and what I mean by this is I hate the idea that speedboats can only race against other speedboats, streetcars can only race against other streetcars, and so on. You get my point. But I mean, you have so many different vehicles and disciplines in the game, yet you force us to almost race them exclusively against each other. Now, of course, there are many events, but I've always thought of how cool it would be, for example, to do a street race in LA with custom rules where we can configure the perf level, what disciplines can be used, what we can't, and we can potentially end up with a street race with touring cars, hypercars, and even monster trucks in one race. Now, I know that may sound a little ridiculous, but it is a game. And that is where the fun factor comes in. I mean, you guys can fly a plane and then transition to a car 12,000 feet up in the air. Why can't we just race a couple of cars that maybe are built slightly differently against each other? Or maybe take a Koenigsegg Regera through a motocross circuit. I mean, how fun would that be? But of course, even with custom rules, they can still be segregated by cars, boats, and planes. So for instance, you can't use a boat or a plane in a ground race, or vice versa. Now, those 2 points itself, I believe, would bring a lot more life to the game and truly bring out the game's full potential, utilizing vehicles in ways that no other games have done. Now, I'm trying to think this as a gamer and not so much as a YouTuber that creates these challenges. Now, as a gamer, when we play a game like The Crew, we like exploration. Don't get us wrong, we like the freedom, and it's cool that you guys have built such a large map that we can explore around and pretty much do whatever we want. However, not all gamers have that ability to be able to see your best points within a game. So what you guys need to do is create that structure, the direction, to feed some gamers into what you really want to showcase. And in The Crew 2, I believe the biggest point is, of course, the 3 different types of vehicles and the multiple disciplines that you guys have. That is where you want your game to be showcased at its best potential. And if you guys could find a balance between freedom, exploration, and within the story mode to allow us to progress, but also see what you guys have really done, I think that is truly a winning recipe right there for what is already a very good game. And for my final point, now I know this has already been announced that it would release at the end of this year, but I'm going to say it anyway, and that is the PvP mode. I believe this is certainly an extra layer that the game desperately needs right now, because for everyone who's completed the game, there's nothing else that we can really do. I mean, competing against AI cars just to win some loot is just simply not enough. Doing it against real human players would certainly be a lot more rewarding, but I don't know how PvP will be incorporated into The Crew 2. Maybe they would add extra events similar to what I've already mentioned before, and if they've done that, that would be absolutely fantastic. I still think that they should have released PvP at launch as well, because it kind of feels like half of the game is missing. And although PvP could increase the playability of the game, over time it will still also eventually become stale as well, which is why I have proposed those 2 points earlier. And of course, imagine those with PvP mode. It would be absolutely incredible, I think. But of course, these are just my ideas. If you guys have any ideas on how to improve The Crew 2, make sure to put it down in the comments section below. I would love to hear this. Please make sure to share this to anyone who is interested in The Crew, and also hopefully someone from Ivory Towers or Ubisoft or anyone related to the development of The Crew 2 gets to see this video. You guys have built a fantastic game. I mean, what you guys have done is taken what was wrong with the first game, amended them, and then applied it into The Crew 2, which is why I believe this is one of, if not the best racing game so far this year. But this video certainly isn't me saying that The Crew 2 is bad. It's just some of my suggestions as someone who plays this game pretty much every day, that some improvements could be applied to help The Crew 2 become even better than what it already is. And lastly guys, if you guys did enjoy this video, please make sure to click the thumbs up button. That would really help me out. And also, if you guys are new to my channel and would like to see what I'm all about, click on my channel, go watch a few videos. If you enjoy what you see, make sure to click the subscribe button with notifications turned on. I do play a lot of Crew 2, but of course I will also play other car racing games as well. But I hope you enjoyed this, I don't know, rant. Not really a rant, just some suggestions. And hopefully I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.